Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Yes, the eagle-eyed of you out there may have noticed that I'm in a Macan, not a Taycan, and that's because the Taycan, as you've seen from the last video, has broken down again, unfortunately. But this video is about the time it broke down before this current time that it broke down, and looking specifically at what we've done in terms of compensation from Porsche UK. But before we get there, I do need to call out, if you find this helpful, please do consider a sub. It would be massively appreciated, but it's one click, that's all it takes. Go on, you know you want to. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. But let's start with that story in terms of what went wrong with the episode that resulted in compensation, or at least my request for compensation. I have to say, by the way, this Macan is pretty good. It's so nice to have actual disc brakes and not regen. Such a different feel, so much tighter. And I do like the spec of this car as well, which is a Macan T, which is kind of just a Golf on steroids, isn't it? The issue started with the battery, the HV battery in the Taycan. And it's not an uncommon issue, but it is an issue nevertheless. That other people have been affected by this as well. High voltage battery system error, please get it checked out. And you can't drive the car, it simply will not move, will not start. So you're kind of stuck. Unfortunately, it happened to me. And yes, it was a faulty module. And I have to call out Porsche Guildford here, because when I look back through this, I think they have been brilliant. They have been really good, really responsive in the midst of a complete site rebuild as well, with limited capacity. But I really do think they have been brilliant. So I want to call those guys out here. They've really looked after me. And they didn't design the Taycan. They're at the mercy of things that go wrong. They're the face to the customer for sure, and they've had a lot to deal with in terms of Taycan issues. And I think, you know, that stiff upper lip they've shown, and just the dedication to getting customers back on the road as soon as possible, has been noteworthy, I have to say, because a lot of what they have to do is back through Porsche HQ in Germany. And one thing I would call out is I think dealers, local dealers, need to be better enabled to be a bit more autonomous in terms of what they do, versus having to go back to Porsche HQ, which they needed to for this, I think, for the warranty work and the logs to be deciphered, etc. So there was a lot for Porsche HQ to do, probably a bit too much, but Porsche Guildford have been brilliant. So what happened? The car was effectively out of action for 5 weeks here, but throughout that process I did have an enterprise rental car, a BMW iX, and that was because at the time there was very little availability in terms of courtesy cars direct from Porsche because of this site refurb that they had, and just a very small number of cars. This breakdown, you'll notice we were straight in a Porsche Guildford UK courtesy car, the Macan. I think there's one other Taycan and another 2 or 3 Macans that are currently available as courtesy cars. And that Porsche HQ is now kind of pretty much open. That sales building has been refreshed. It looks really great. I had a look round, it's fantastic. Still not quite finished, the overall site, but I think the capacity constraints are a little bit better now than they had. But what I did notice is that it was great availability on courtesy cars this time. So hopefully, you know, things are looking a bit better on the whole. But was without a car for 5 weeks, had this BMW iX, which would have probably cost them, I reckon, maybe between £2,000 and £3,000 in rental fees alone for that period. So quite a bit potentially. They might get a discounted rate. So anyway, the whole episode was finished and the Taycan was working. It was back to normal, and it was great to get back in it. I did a video on that as well. But I thought, you know, I was without a car for 5 weeks and I am paying a significant monthly cost. So I'm just going to ping out an email and see what I get, see if I can initiate any form of compensation or goodwill on behalf of Porsche UK, because it can't hurt to try, right? So I did just that. Sent out an email, was provided with a complaints email from the guys at the service centre at Porsche UK Guildford, and got a reply back probably about 5 days later saying, yeah, we acknowledge this, apologies for the inconvenience, we will offer you a goodwill of £300, but it's not just £300 cash, it's £300 that you have to spend at your local Porsche dealer on accessories or whatever. So I thought, you know, there's nothing I really want right now, so let me raise it again. And incidentally, they said in that email, you know, if you want to take this further, you'll have to contact the provider of your finance, which was a bit strange because the provider of my finance is, of course, Porsche UK, backed by VWFS, right? And that's who you effectively deal with when you have a PCP. It's all VWFS backed. So I thought, okay, fine, fair enough. So asked for the process there, another email that you contact. So I wrote out the case clearly, wrote out the history of that case as well, made sure it was all watertight as I did for the previous email, and then sent that out. And then I actually got a response back via letter. There was a significant delay though. It was probably about 4 weeks of delay, I think 4 or 5 weeks of delay, and I did receive an email before I got the letter. That email said, yeah, we're looking into it, we acknowledge it, looking into it, please hang tight. I guess they're probably pretty busy. And they cited, you know, if you're not happy with this, there's always the financial ombudsman. And I think they were potentially putting that forward as a get out clause, right? If you don't like it, financial ombudsman. I said, look, I want you guys to see what you can do first before I go down that route. And honestly, it's probably a route you don't want to go down at all, because it's just a pain and it's a lengthy process. You've got to provide lots of evidence. And honestly, you know, there's better things to do with my time. Yeah, it was a lengthy wait, but I eventually got a letter turn up. And that letter said they acknowledge they've already had, or I've already had, the offer of £300 from Porsche UK to spend at their dealer centre. They were willing to provide another £514.28 as a goodwill gesture. And it wasn't clear whether that was another voucher or cash. In addition to that £514, they offered another £100 on top of that as goodwill. Again, in the letter, it wasn't clear whether that was a voucher or just cash. So there was a number on the letter to call. I called back in to the centre, or to that finance office, and said, is it cash, refund, or is it a voucher again? Because the £300 was a kind of voucher. And didn't hear back. Had to chase them again, didn't hear back, chased them again, finally heard back. And yeah, they confirmed it would be a refund to the bank account that you make the payments for the PCP. So I thought, you know what, I'm all right with that. So we've kind of got about £900 in total, £600 of which is cash, and then another £300 as a voucher. Not too bad. I did have the courtesy card, so I pinged them one last email just to try, and I said, hey, is that your best offer, your best and final offer? And they said, look, yeah, it is, given the fact that we provided you with a courtesy car as well throughout the duration, kept you mobile. And you know what, in all honesty, I was okay with that, because the next thing would be the financial ombudsman route, and just can't be bothered. You know, the car's back now. Well, actually it's not back because we're in a McCann, but it came back and it was working fine for a while. So I effectively consider this matter resolved, and you know, in the grand scheme of things, I have to say, not too bad. I'm pleased I got some compensation out of it, because they could have said no, not at all. But on the whole, I think, you know, they've looked after me pretty well, especially that Porsche Centre in Guildford. I think they've done a brilliant job of, amidst all the chaos of that refurb, keeping customers well looked after. So kudos to Porsche Guildford, I have to say. Really good job there. And yeah, not too bad a process all round. So yeah, I consider this now closed. Be interesting to see what happens with this next issue, the failed heater that we've got again. More videos to follow on that. Keep you updated on this next episode of Taycan shenanigans that we've got to deal with. But that's it for this one. Would appreciate the sub if you enjoyed, or if you found it interesting or useful. Thank you very much. See you on the next one, and bye for now.